I want to bring in Senator Bernie Sanders, chairman of the Veterans Affairs Committee. Senator, good to see you. Good morning.
Good to be with you.
Let me just play for you a little piece of sound that we heard from General Shinseki this morning, if I can.
That breach of integrity is irresponsible, it is indefensible, and unacceptable. I've initiated the process for the removal of the senior leaders at the Phoenix VA Medical Center. We will use all authority at our disposal to enforce accountability among senior leaders who are found to have instigated or tolerated dishonorable or irresponsible scheduling practices at VA healthcare facilities.
Let me get your reaction, Senator, to what you heard from General Shinseki, and did he go far enough?
Well, he's absolutely right. What has happened is beyond words. It is reprehensible. Those people responsible have got to be fired as quickly as possible tomorrow, and those practices have got to be eliminated. What I also want to say is that we need to pass an accountability bill. I have one that makes sense. We're going to try to get it up on the floor within a couple of days. Furthermore, though, as I think the New York Times reported, at the heart of this issue, Chris, is the fact that people don't lie just because they're lying. We need more physicians, we need more nurses to get into the VA system. It is part of an overall crisis in primary care, and that's an issue that the Veterans Committee is going to focus on as well. If we believe that every veteran in this country is entitled to high-quality, timely health care, we need the staffing and we need the accountability to make that happen. Yeah, shocking numbers in that New York Times story that you talked about. 400 vacancies. How quickly could those possibly be filled even if this bill did get passed? Well, this is what we also want to do. What we want to say to any veteran in this country who is currently on a waiting list beyond a reasonable period of time is to say that you should be able to go to a private physician, you should be able to go to a community health center, you should be able to go to a Department of Defense facility and Indian Health Service. In other words, we want to get these people the medical care they need. Longer term, as a nation, we have got to address the crisis in primary health care. We need 50,000 physicians in this country in the next 10 years to address the needs of the American people, including the VA. And we're going to be working on legislation to address that as well. He called out your bill specifically, support for it, in his statement this morning before the Homeless Veterans Group. But obviously he's going into the president's office. We have heard from the president sort of giving us an idea that he wants to know from Shinseki, can you fix this? What do you think that conversation is going to be like 10 minutes from now between President Obama and Eric Shinseki? Well, Chris, I don't want to speculate, but this is what I want to say. I want to make 2 points here. You may remember back in the year 2003 when the Bush administration was rushing this country to war, and when Don Rumsfeld and the Secretary of Defense and other people were saying, you know, it's going to be an easy occupation. We'll knock out Saddam Hussein, we'll occupy the country, we'll bring the troops back home. Do you happen to remember a very quiet gentleman who was then the Army Chief of Staff, leader of the Army, and he got in front of a congressional committee and he very quietly said, no, that's not going to be the case. It's going to be a lot harder than that. It's going to require hundreds of thousands of troops. And as a result of his statement standing up to the Secretary of Defense, unprecedented, he was kind of pushed aside. History proved Shinseki was right. It was an act of great courage. I will also tell you that when he came into office in 2009, do you know how the VA was processing claims? They were doing it in paper. 1 million claims a year, very complicated claims. They were doing it in paper. If you think it is an easy task to go from paper to an electronic system with the thousands of employees you have around the country, you would be mistaken. They have done it. They're now on their way to significantly reducing the backlog. So I think you have a tough guy, a disciplined guy. I would like to see him end his term by accomplishing the goals he's established. When you say end his term, are you suggesting that he should at least go into that office and offer the president his resignation? Should he be fired? You know there are 111 people. No, I don't. No. 111 members of Congress who are pushing for that. I am aware of that. No. I think that this is a tough guy. I think he is. It's not only that he has 2 Purple Hearts and that he has served this country for over 40 years. I think this is a tough guy, a smart guy. I would like to see him be able to complete the job that he started and bring the long-needed changes to the VA that we have to see.
Jay Carney would not directly answer. I don't know if you heard his press briefing yesterday. He was asked several times about the president's support, and he would not give a direct statement of support by the president for Eric Shinseki. What do you make of that?
Well, I'm not going to speculate. All I know is that you have, in a very real sense, an American hero. If you ask me, Chris, what his problem is, he is not, he is not the great guy in the media. He's a very quiet guy. He's a thoughtful guy. And if you stick a camera in front of him, he doesn't do particularly well. But this is a man who, through his entire life, has shown great courage on the battlefield as the head of the Army. I would like to see him have the opportunity to make the very significant changes we need in the administration of the VA and be able to complete his job in dignity.
Understanding that you would like to see this, you've been on Capitol Hill for nearly a quarter century. When you see the kind of pressure that's coming from members of Congress, and we should say there is obviously a political component to this, that many of the Democrats, for example, on the Senate side, who are calling for his resignation, do face tough re-election races. Nevertheless, there's no doubt about the pressure that's out there, not just by members of Congress, but by these veterans groups who have been calling for some time for Shinseki to step down or be fired. Can he survive?
Well, Chris, some veterans groups have been, and some veterans groups have not. And I do understand, the Republican Party and the Koch brothers and others are putting money into television ads in states where people are running for re-election or running for election, and it's hard to stand up to that pressure. But again, my own view is that I hope the president does not ask for his resignation. My own view is that I hope he does not resign. My hope is that he brings in some good, strong people and makes the very significant kinds of changes we need in the VA.
Senator Bernie Sanders, it's always good to have you on the program. Thank you so much.